This meeting is being recorded.
What's going on, guys? It's the Bigs Podcast, episode number 77. This is part 2 of week 7's review. And tonight, staying up late with me, as always, my best friend, my roommate, and the commissioner of our great league, Ben Nisman. Benny, 7 weeks in the books, my friend. How are you feeling after almost 2 months?
Feeling great, Joe. Great to be back doing this again and breaking down an extremely unique week, to say the least. We'll get into that later. And 7 weeks, that means this is a very, very important episode. Who you are facing this week, that is your final week opponent. So week 22, it's the same opponent. That's something you might want to go back to. So a lot to get into, some incredible finishes on Sunday. So much more. Joe, as always, lead it off, mon ami.
Let's get going, boys. It is week 7, and there are a lot of things that we are going to talk about here. But first, we've got some housekeeping that we need to take care of. First things first, Bigs Conclave 2023, my friend. We are invading Citi Field on Monday, June the 26th. We are in section 514. The 4 hosts of this show will be in row 2. And we have Bigs members in row 5. We have confirmed Frank Bucco. We have confirmed Costas Paragas sitting next to each other. Here's a fun thing about that date, Benjamin. Since it's a Monday, it is the start of a Bigs week. Do you know who your opponent is?
No idea.
It's me! Do you know who Jason's opponent is?
No.
It's Mike Haber.
I thought you were going to say it was you again.
No, it's Mike Haber. So the 4 of us are playing each other starting on this Monday. I am telling you, the universe lined up wonderfully for our scheduling. That being said, the excitement behind this was so much that we added a second day. Jason is on vacation here and he wanted to go see Coney Island. So you know what? We are going to create Coney Island family gathering. Bring the kids, bring the wives, bring the girlfriends, bring everybody, because that's what this fraternity is all about. It'll be Saturday, June the 24th. Coney Island, you guys all know where it is. It's a world landmark. And we're going to be ending the day with a Brooklyn Cyclones game. 4 Bigs members have already confirmed, myself and my co-host, Jason, obviously. But for this one, it's the Mooses Loose and Bobby Roos joining us for the Cyclones, Benji. How you feeling about all this?
Everything sounds exciting. I can't wait to do it, man. But I know the time is going to go quickly. Like, all of a sudden, we're going to be there. It feels like that's how it's going. Like, we're talking about week 7 already, and doesn't it feel like yesterday when we were just going through only opening day, going through a long 11-day matchup? Now here we are through 7 weeks, and we, like we said before, extremely unique week in general, and so much. Yeah,
I think the unique week is a nice way to segue into the missed opportunity this week that happened, and the missed minimum. So, guys who were waiting for this portion of the show, here we are. Ben, floor's yours on James McCloskey missing the minimum.
Well, as a commissioner, it's just something you wish never happened, but it happened, and that's why the league is so interesting in a way, because it's a number that over time we thought was a practical number to know that you can't sneak into a specific type of strategy that you don't need to really starting pitching so much. So that's why it was done. That wasn't the intention here. I don't believe that it didn't make sense according to when you look at the matchup and you break it down, you can do it. But
and we'll do that later on.
Yeah,
we'll have a conversation about it too.
The hope is that something like this does not affect the standings at all. That's that as a commissioner, what you hope for the entire time, because The last time it happened in 2020, in a 6-week season, somehow it didn't end up affecting it at all. Neither one of the players went to the playoffs. It was amazing that actually happened. But in 2018, it did matter. So look, it had gone up since 2017. We had noticed that Jay Ferraro was doing it. So we move it up to 34 the following year. That was 2018. That was a year that Bobby Russo actually joined. And then 2019, 37. And then 2020 is when we brought it to 42. And in 6 weeks, yeah, I guess that was the fear. But who knows if that would have happened again that year. And then for 2 straight years, no one missed it. So
Right.
It's unfortunate. I hope it doesn't affect anything. But it's a good enough number that we've all realized is an attainable number and works perfectly as far as keeping our league in balance, making starting pitching still valuable as, relief appearances. That all of a sudden relievers were becoming more of a commodity in our league. But as we bumped up the minimum, we've never really needed more starting pitching kind of stats because of that. So 42, is it too much? Is it not enough? That's been kind of on the table for a while. So obviously, you see, we have to keep on looking throughout the season, and we always are evaluating. But again, it's unfortunate, but it happened. That's, to me, amazing, because all of a sudden now we're just going to be constantly looking at it and evaluating these two, at least I am, the seasons of Mike Haber and James McCloskey that much more.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch this. It's part of the story. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's a thing that happened in 2023. It's part of this story. And if Mike Haber holds on to the bye by less than 4 games, here we are. If James McCloskey misses the playoffs by less than 4 games, there it is. There's 1,000 different ways this can go, but this is part of the story now, and it's going to be a fun part of the story. At least it is for me. Now, for a commissioner who has been looking at an innings total change at the minimum spot, I'm sure this gives you more trepidation. Is that correct?
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. Because you never know what could get into people's schedules, and all of a sudden they weren't on top of it that particular week.
Yeah.
There was an opportunity for James to get it in there. Severino he wasn't ahead of it, I'm assuming. So
if I could speak for him, and I haven't spoken to him, but I looked at a calendar. I have not. Okay. I look at today as a recovery day for him. It's Monday and Tuesday that were always the recovery days after this past weekend. For those that don't know, James and I worked together for a very long time in Las Vegas. He's a 911 dispatcher. He is, in fact, now the communications manager of the company that I used to work for. And this past weekend was the Electric Daisy Carnival. That is 150,000 people for 4 straight nights packing into Raiders Stadium. And James is overseeing the communications center of the EMS response for that event. He is working all night until the sun comes up and everyone leaves the stadium, and then he gets to go home. Then he has to come back before everybody comes back. It is 4 of the longest and hardest days I've ever worked. I don't envy him for continuing to have to do it. And yeah, I would be lying if I didn't point to that as the reason he missed the minimum this week. That's it. I know for myself, I'm the type of person who was just setting my lineup and hoping for the best that week.
I get you. Well, it's not necessary to speculate if we haven't heard from him.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So
that being said, week 7. Let's talk about week 7, and let's talk about the interesting part of the schedule that we're about to enter, because 7 weeks is the repeat weeks. These are the guys that you're going to repeat on your schedule. After this, begins the play everyone else in the league portion of your schedule. Everyone you haven't played, you're only playing once, and the importance of this is that in playoff seeding, if you were to tie in the playoffs, say a 9-9 tie or an 8-8 tie, 10-10 also works. The person with the better record during the regular season moves on. So if you only have one matchup with somebody, you really got to get it right because you never know who you're going to see in the playoffs. Because after week 7 last year, there were 6 people in the top 6, Benjamin. You know what game we're about to play.
No, that's going to be a tough one, though. I'll do
How
my
many
best
of the
because
6? I'll give
how
you
many
6
got?
guesses. How many?
Okay.
I'll give you 6 guesses. How many of the 6 are you able to name?
We're in the top 6 after this point last year.
At this point last year.
Christian,
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Wow, this is tough.
Uh-huh.
I'll go with myself.
Yes.
Josh.
Yes. 2 more. One made the playoffs and one did not.
Jimmy.
Incorrect. Jimmy
Wow.
was not yet in the playoffs. He was in 8th.
All right, so Ari.
Incorrect. Ari was down toward the bottom in 12th.
Levy.
Levy was
Chris
in
Levy.
3rd. Levy was in
Wow.
3rd, and Bobby Russo was
Bobby.
in
That was going to
6th.
be my other. That was
Yeah.
going to be my guy that didn't. Yeah.
The lowest seeded team at this point that made the playoffs was Michael Haber, who came from 13th. So anybody down at the bottom thinking their season is done after 7 weeks, forget it. This is still wide open.
Oh, yeah.
Even with the missing the minimum going to the number 1 seeded team. First to second is separated by around 10 games. Second to 7th is separated by around 10 games. And then 7th to, I think it's 14th right now, is separated by about 10 games. Guys, this is very tight. This is insanely tight. How tight is it? Let's get this week started, Benjamin. It is time to talk about Ari Nisman and Josh Haber. Josh Haber getting himself a 12-8 victory. These guys battled back and forth all week. On Sunday, we had saves tied, and Ari took that. And Ari had a 24-tick whip advantage, and Josh took that. Close categories this week. Ari wins by 2 doubles, 2 triples, 2 homers, and a save. Josh wins by 2 walks and 2 strikeouts by a batter. They tied in steals. For Ari on his bench this week, we're going to kick it off right, Benjamin. It's 19 for 71.
I like how you set that one up. Thanks.
Yep.
289.
268. 14 runs, 4 doubles, a homer, 12 RBIs, a steal, 12 walks, 17 strikeouts, and an error. The only thing that plays are the walks.
Yeah.
He missed that by 2, and with 12 of them in the lineup, pick a day.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I guess also you could say the strikeouts by a batter, if you get that right a couple of times with some switches, maybe find a way into that
that's
one.
certainly possible. That's certainly possible. Saturday, you only had 1 strikeout on the bench, so I think there's a way you could get it in there and probably get a walk that way. Only 2 moves this week. He dropped Ha-Sung Kim and then dropped Kyle Freeland for Connor Siebold. 3 2/3, a loss, 2 bombs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, a 12.27 middle ages ERA, and a 193 WHIP. His key players this week, we'll talk about Aaron Judge because we always talk about Aaron Judge. 500 with a 621 on base percentage, 7 runs, 2 doubles, 5 bombs, 11 RBIs, a steal, 7 walks, and 7 strikeouts. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
And he lost.
Yeah. I was thinking that also as you were saying the stat line.
Like he lost. The least valuable hitter is Luke Raley. No hits, a 143 on base, a steal, and 4 strikeouts. The Cy Young is going to go to Scott Barlow. His 2 relief appearances were both saves, clean, and had a strikeout apiece. The Cy Young is Connor Siebold, who I already talked about. For Josh on his bench this week, this one's a bit easier. 3 for 17.
Again, a lot easier. Wow, Joe. Point 78.
176.
Oh God, it was okay.
About 100 points off. With an RBI, a walk, and 6 strikeouts, none of it plays. The transactions this week, he dropped Matt Mervis for Taylor Walls, 1 for 5 with a run, 2 steals, and 4 strikeouts on the 17th. He dropped Slater for Lance Lynn, 7 innings, a win, 7 strikeouts, a 1.29, and a 1 WHIP. You last week had mentioned that you didn't get to mention this guy. Here's an opportunity. Lance Lynn falls off a team, and now he's throwing this kind of line.
Yeah, but what do you really expect? At this point, it's like it is a dark throw. So I guess I can't touch that ticking time bomb, but it was a guy that I believed in going into the season. So, I mean, there's a very good chance he's going to have a run of good starts, but you don't know where it is. So you don't know the time to own him. So
That's why he is the ultimate hand grenade right now.
Yeah, he's not like Edinson Volquez in that time when everyone had that guy.
Yeah, he's not Andrew Heaney this season.
Right. And Ivan Nova.
Gross, that guy.
Yeah.
Yep. He dropped Daniel Hudson finally for Justin Lawrence, an inning, a walk, a strikeout, a 9 ERA, a 3 WHIP, and a relief appearance. He dropped Joe Kelly for Taj Bradley, 5 innings, a bomb, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, a 360, and a 1 WHIP. I think that one was against the Mets, and it wasn't a terrible start. He dropped the namesake of his team, Graham Asshat, for Leody Taveras, 0 for 4 with a run and a strikeout. That's what you get, an 0 for 4 with a strikeout for dropping your namesake. He then dropped Leody Taveras for Cooper Criswell. What team, Ben?
Yeah, right. The Pawtucket Patriots.
Close. The Tampa Bay Rays. 4 2/3, a loss, 2 bombs, a walk, 3 strikeouts, a 964 and a 193. His key players this week is going to be Lane Thomas for his MVP, 379 with a 419, 8 runs, 3 doubles, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 2 walks, and 10 strikeouts. 10 strikeouts are kind of ugly, but he still won it. Gabriel Moreno is the least valuable hitter, 250 with a 333, an RBI, a double, a run, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. He hit the cover off the ball most of this week, so it was hard to find somebody. Lance Lynn is the Cy Young. He got both of those starts, 13 innings, 2 wins, a bomb, 2 walks, 13 strikeouts, a 208, and a 1. And Cooper Criswell is, in fact, the Cy Young. I talked about him just a moment ago. Benji, what do we got for these guys, man?
Firstly, the fact that Lane Thomas had the week that he did, who saw that coming? You know, that's basically picking him off the scrap heap and seeing what you got. And then same goes for Lance Lynn, you know. So, you know who dropped Lance Lynn, actually?
I think it was Henry Collins. Is that right?
Yes, but then someone else had him after that.
Mike Haber.
Yes. So it's just interesting. It's like, brother, I got that one, brother.
Brother. They got him, brother. Listen, man.
Yeah,
Which one of these guys do you see making a push to the playoffs more?
that's a great question. Obviously, they both have basically the same amount of experience.
Yeah.
Josh is obviously he's playing on a whole new level to me. And the other thing is that when you look at what Ari's team did, the fact that okay, firstly, Josh had 7 saves against me. I had 6, or it was 6-5, whatever it was. But this week he gets 2, and he he loses. He loses that category to Ari Nisman. Like, is that supposed to happen? It's just it. The fact that he dealt with Aaron Judge and dealt with these deficiencies that his team actually produced this week,
Mhm.
it's actually extremely impressive what he did. And it's obviously very different strategies, and Josh knows that, and he didn't really have to focus. I mean, he still had a ton of relief appearances, but it was lowering his ERA, and he was protecting that. And the ERA was great this week. He didn't have much to manage against, but he did it. Because you never know what's going to happen. So I give him a lot of credit. He obviously played well enough to avoid losing walks and strikeouts very closely. And yeah, he kind of played Ari like a fiddle in that way in the management part of it. He dealt with a really, really tough team offensively. And Ari's team is still dangerous. He's still, it's Ari. He's playing the game daily. He's doing that thing with his 6-man bench, and trying to pick it right. And sometimes it works. In this case, maybe not perfect, but in a way, it didn't really matter because Josh was playing at that level that, I think he just outmanaged him.
I tend to agree, and this is an interesting week specifically for Josh because there are some weeks that you just churn through a bunch of bodies and get to where you get through to the next week, and then there are some weeks where you pick out some pieces that are going to stick on your team for a while. Taylor Walls is a really nice backup infielder that he now possesses, that he's had since this pickup on the 15th. Lance Lynn probably going to stick around on this roster for a little bit now, especially with Dustin May going down.
Yeah.
Taj Bradley kind of fits that bill too. And I don't know if Cooper Criswell is a thing. It's probably not, but if he is going to be a long man, he might be something.
Yeah.
But specifically those 3 pieces, Walls, Lynn, and Bradley, I want to see exactly how long those pieces last on this team. The pitching does concern me. It's Logan Webb and friends, and those friends include Lance Lynn and Taj Bradley and Louis Varland and John Gray and Josiah Gray. So
and neither of us really love the team that Logan Webb plays for as far as the longevity of their winnability going through the season, which might affect him.
Yeah. The Dustin May injury is devastating here. So I'm a little concerned about the pitching side here. The bullpen is stout. It's, a bunch of Dodgers guys and Felix Bautista and Alexis Diaz, who might be turning into the best closer in baseball that's not named Edwin Diaz. It's just insane what this guy has done this year.
Yeah.
193 ERA, 10 saves, 18 and 2/3 innings with 35 strikeouts. That's kind of Edwin Diaz-ish, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, It's unfortunate that it's not going to be a winning team. But...
Right, for now.
Right, that's true.
Yeah. All right, let's move on here to the next matchup. And this one is, in fact, Bobby Russo getting himself a 12-8 win over Adam Lowenstein. What'd you see this week from them?
I saw just dominance. I mean, this might be the only matchup that I didn't see flip-flop and who was winning at any point,
Bobby kind of had this thing in the bag from Tuesday on.
Yeah.
It was close. I mean, it was 10-7, 10-9, 12-6. It was 15-5 on Saturday, so Adam did make a little bit of chicken salad here on Sunday. For Sunday, doubles were in fact tied. Adam got that by 1. RBIs, Adam had a 3 RBI lead. Bobby dump trucked him.
Yep.
Errors, Bobby had a 1 error lead and he took 1. He had a 6-tick batting average lead and lost that. He had a 1 save lead and lost that, and had a 2 relief appearance lead and lost that. Close categories, Bobby wins by 2 steals. Adam wins by a double, a triple, 4 ticks on the batting average, a save, and the relief appearance. Essentially, all 4 of those categories I said he flipped on Sunday.
Yeah.
And they tied in errors, which is the other one Bobby gave up. For Bobby on the bench this week, 7 for 36.
$208.
194. You went the wrong way.
Yeah.
4 runs, a homer, 2 RBIs, 3 walks, 11 strikeouts, and 3 errors. None of it plays. So you don't even have a double on the bench. You don't have an error. Like, he has 3 errors benched. So he was supposed to take 6 this week and got half of them off of the team. Well done. Well done. You didn't lose a category you were supposed to absolutely lose.
Yes. And you take that tie any day, because a tie is still better than not taking, like, you'd rather not take the loss.
Absolutely. His transactions this week, he dropped Tyler Anderson for Tristan Casas, 0 for 4 with a strikeout. He dropped Taylor Clark for Luis Garcia, 1 for 5 with a run and a strikeout on the bench. He dropped Wilmer Flores for Jeimer Candelario, 3 for 3 with a run, a double, an RBI, and a walk. Well done. Well done. He dropped Tristan Casas for Patrick Corbin, 6 innings, a win, a bomb, 3 strikeouts, 3 ERA, and a 1 whip. Well done. He dropped Luis Garcia and Trevor Gott for Chasen Shreve, who did not appear until, I think, yesterday, and Reynaldo Lopez, 2/3 of an inning, a strikeout, and a relief appearance. He then dropped Patrick Corbin for James Karinchak, who did not appear. If Karinchak or Shreve show up, he ties relief appearances. So he tried. He was getting there. These guys just didn't have the manager's magic wand this week. His MVP this week is going to be that kid that we talked about, Corbin Carroll, 333 with a 536 on base, 6 runs, a double, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 3 steals, 8 walks, and 5 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter is MJ Melendez, although there were quite a few that I could have gone with. Lars Nootbaar, Harry Bader had a 143, but we're going to go with MJ Melendez here, a 200 with a 200, a run, 2 doubles, an RBI, and 5 strikeouts. The 2 doubles, not enough to get that category. And if that's kind of the only hits he got into the lineup, kind of not great for you this week. The Cy Young this week, Aaron Nola, 7 innings, a win, a homer, a walk, 10 strikeouts, a 257, and an 071. And the Cy Young is Emmanuel Clase, of all people. 2 relief appearances, a loss and a save, an inning and 2/3, a 1080 and a 3. But this is more an opportunity to kind of say, like, Clase and Adam have let him down each of the last 2 weeks.
Yes, recently they've been bad, but I think they still have their manager's confidence as well as Bobby's right now. There's no likelihood that either of these guys would get demoted as far as for that role. So, I mean, we kind of knew that Adam might be potentially sharing time with Fairbanks going into the season, but he's basically solidified that role. So, and if not, if Kevin Cash is just playing by the numbers, then, that's why you have another guy. Maybe Bobby needs to go and grab that other closer potentially at the deadline. But as of right now, I personally, I'm not concerned about Bobby's team at all. Generally.
I'm not either. And I think this is a really great win. I think on Sunday you just got the guy trying to make chicken salad, and he got a few more than you would like.
It has been happening to Bobby kind of on Sundays a little bit lately, though. I have noticed that.
Maybe there is something to be said about seeing a little bit more aggression out of Bobby on the weekends, because we did only see one move on a Sunday. He didn't use anywhere near all 12.
Yeah, no, I know that, but that's I don't think he wouldn't tell you that that was the reason, because
Mhm.
going into it, a lot, for instance, I know a couple weekends ago, it was about just whether he should start a starting pitcher or not, or go for those innings, and how that, you know, adding more pitchers wouldn't have necessarily helped him, you know?
Right. Well,
So
let's take a look at Adam's team here. On his bench this week, he goes 5 for 18.
it's a little bit easier. Um, two, two, 255,
278.
275.
278. With 4 runs, 2 doubles, a homer, 2 RBIs, 5 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Doesn't look like anything plays. Nope, nothing plays. His moves this week. He dropped Francisco Alvarez for Brian Anderson, 0 for 3 with a strikeout. He added Dane Dunning, 6 innings, a win, 4 strikeouts, a 150, and a 1. Well done. That's a great dude to be
Still on his
right
team. And obviously, after he drops Alvarez is when the guy actually starts to land on the map.
Yeah. Yeah, he starts acting like the top prospect that he was touted to be coming into the season. Yeah, it's about time. He dropped Domingo Herman for Edward Cabrera, 5 innings, a win, a homer, 6 strikeouts, a 360, and a 1 whip. He dropped Edward Cabrera for Ben Lively, 5 2/3, a loss, a homer, a walks, 8 strikeouts, a 318, and a 053 whip. I think that start was against the Yankees. He dropped Yusei Kikuchi for Johnny Brito, 4 innings, a bomb, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts, a 9 ERA, and a 2 whip. I think that start was against the Reds.
Mm-hmm.
He dropped Brito for just dropped him outright because that guy's terrible. He dropped JD Davis for Brandon Williamson, who's also on the Reds and did not appear. He dropped Caleb Thielbar for Steven Okert, a one inning relief appearance with a strikeout, a 1 whip. His most valuable player this week,
How many moves was that total, Joe?
Oh gosh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7.
Wow. So that's the most ads I think he's made in a week so far this season.
Okay.
Just something to look at. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's interesting that this is the week against Bobby that he's using the most ads. It's an interesting.
It just also might be that he's, realizing that more of his team is cuttable than he might have initially thought.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Getting comfortable with the core, getting comfortable with the rotation and the churning that we see in this.
I do think I'm starting to also say, and I guess this might be a good time to put that to just say it, is something about his offense I am concerned with going into this, is that he made a trade, and it was to me it was a trade that was taking a big risk in what the core of this team would be. And I'm not sure if this is, a sign of things to come, but so far it has been a proponent of some of the lackluster offense that this team did have that now it does not.
Yeah. Yeah. The trade with Frank looms here because the offense is taking a little bit of a hit. He's still finding a right fielder. He's churning through now a third baseman because Machado's down. The MVP this week is something like a thyroid Estrada, 280 with a 308, 3 runs, a double, a triple, 3 RBIs, a steal, a walk, and 6 strikeouts. It's not the guy you want to be leading your charge, though.
You don't expect it, that's for sure. But he's been solid so far. But yeah, it's like we said, it's the core to me right now is in question.
Yeah. Ian Happ, 190 with a 280, 10 strikeouts, a run, 2 doubles, an RBI, and 2 walks as the least valuable hitter this week. For Cy Young, we're going to go to Raisel Iglesias, 3 innings, 2 saves, 4 strikeouts. Everything's clean in 3 relief appearances. Cy Yuck, though, is Gabe Spire, 2 relief appearances, an inning and a third of 2025 and a 225. Benji, I hear what you're saying about the offense here with Adam, and I think that's where I want to start with this. We're really concerned here, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm just not believing in what he's bringing as the top, like his best 9 guys that he can play, basically.
Mhm.
I'm just, I don't know. A
Ruiz,
lot of it, I think, is
Olsen, Torres, Swanson, and then an
yeah,
outfield.
right. And for me, of course, the Machado hit is brutal, right? I mean, obviously, but
Mhm.
and it's his first pick. But besides Olsen, and if you want to count either Hap or Swanson, whichever one you believe in is the star. And I guess if you think Thyroid Estrada is good enough, that's your third guy, someone that you're not expecting. Aside from that, I'm not really excited about it. He's got a solid catcher. I think that's fine, but it's on a bad team.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's
And when
just
you
something
look
that I'm
over
concerned about.
to the other side, man, the piece that he traded Stephen Kwan for and Jose Alvarado is on the IL. Craig Kimbrell is doing fine. He's picking up a save here or there, but that was the risk. And the risk was these guys being A, bad, B, Phillies, C,
Or
injured.
not having the role so necessarily, right?
Right. Neither of them having the role and it going to another guy that they have because it's Philly. It was a risky
Bad
play.
luck, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
bad luck. But it obviously has come back to bite him now. And
Scherzer is not
honestly,
performing well. Darvish is basically the anchor here, right?
right. He wins saves this week by 1. So did he really need Kimbrel? Did he get him
Yes.
1 this week?
Yes.
Okay, so
Hector Neris also got him 1.
he wins with Kimbrel's save.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at it in his favor, it has helped him there. But
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he couldn't get away with trading Quan, but what you had as the backup, what you had prepared to, the next best thing. I just don't know. I'm really concerned. It looks like my offense from last year in a way.
It's not that far off. You didn't have anybody with the power upside like Matt Olson. Right. Yeah. And I mean, you didn't even have a hitter that could hit 300, man. Like Thyroid Estrada is better than any hitter on that team last year. So yeah, I understand the comparison. It's not quite that bad. All right. Let's move on to the next matchup as my computer slowly.
Well, I mean, before we do we want to just give
sure.
any kind of last thought to how you feel about these managers going forward?
So, Adam, I can see where you are also seeing him be in a little bit of trouble here. I would love to see him find a solid outfield other than Jack Sawinski and whatever other messy, like Ian Happ, Jack Sawinski, and what's the third piece? Exactly. So let's get an outfield together. Maybe he's got to pawn off Scherzer. Maybe he's got to pawn off a pitcher here and try to find a bat in some capacity. I don't know who the fit is, but there are outfielders to be had, I'm sure. For Bobby, this is a playoff team if he keeps this going.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, he's been managing as good as we've ever seen him. So I would think that, if there was a year when he has the team, the fact that Corbin Carroll is doing this is surprising to me. Like, I realized that this was the guy, but how often do you really see them explode the year that, they have all the hype?
Julio Rodriguez last year, Ronald Acuna his first season.
Yeah.
Fernando Tatis his first season. Basically everybody but Wander Franco.
No, there's 1,000 more. You just forget about them quickly,
Yes. Yes.
Jared Kalenic.
That's a good one. That's a good one. He was a mess, wasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking through to just see if there were, in general, any totals or things that either of these guys have been good at, above everybody else or head to head. And they've basically been in the middle of the pack, but it's only 7 weeks here. It's still, there's so much time to determine what the identity of each of these teams are. Basically, I think we know what we're getting with Bobby. Adam, who knows what it's going to be in, a couple of months from now.
Yeah.
But when we look at what Bobby is doing right now, I'm playing him this week, and I know that I'm just in for a grind for 5 more days. And it's good because I know that he loves the competition, and my record is horrendous against this guy since 2018. I think I've beaten him once, maybe. I know that we tied 1 year. I believe it was 2018. And I know that he handed me the first loss of the season in week 1 in 2019, the year that I won it all. So he's had my number in general. He took me out last year. He's had some unfortunate endings and seasons head to head, down the stretch. But in general, I'm expecting this guy to at least have a very, very competitive summer, if not just be in the top 5 or in the top 3 the whole rest of the way.
I think that we know Bobby to be the type of consistent manager that can keep himself in relatively the same spot all season long. For many seasons, that was 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th. He would hover right around that playoff area and fade toward the end, unless he was punishing Uncle Barry in the final week of the season to get into the playoffs. I think this is different. I'm seeing a winning streak here. I'm seeing a guy who's motivated and a guy who is not just motivated, hungry.
Yeah.
This is hungry. Go get it, Bob. You nailed this week. The guy that you're up against made some chicken salad, but otherwise, this would have been a crushing defeat for Adam.
Yes.
I think he's in a little bit of trouble. I'd like to see what he does going forward. Luckily, he doesn't have to play Bobby again until the last week of the season. So
right, and who knows where they're going to be at that point, but there's a good chance that one of them is in a very, very important situation.
No doubt. No doubt. All right, now let's move on here to the next matchup. We're going to talk about another guy very much up on what we do here on the podcast. Frank Bucco taking an 11-7 loss here. On Sunday, Mike had a 2-homer lead, and Frank tied that. Stolen bases were tied, and Mike took that. Frank had a 3-strikeout lead, and he ended up tying that. And 8 strikeouts to Frank's favor gets nipped by 1 here from Mike Sherman. And Frank also had 8 ticks on the ERA, and Mike Sherman took that as well. Close categories, Frank wins by 3 runs, the loss, and 2 ticks on the whip. Sherman wins by the triple, the steal, 11 ticks on the on-base percentage. It's now 12 ticks on the on-base percentage. A save, a strikeout by a pitcher, and 24 ticks on the ERA. They tied in home runs, strikeouts, and errors. Strange week. Just a strange week. For Frank this week, Benjamin, 8 for 28.
$319.
286. 4 runs, a bomb, 3 RBIs, a steal, a walk, and 8 strikeouts. The bomb plays. The steal would have been a tie. But the steal came from Merrifield on Saturday, who did not start in the game. He came off the bench to be a pinch runner and stole a base. I'm not going to fault him for that one. And the bomb was on Sunday. It was William Contreras, 2 for 5 with a homer on the bench. James Outman is 0 for 3 at the utility spot. He also just traded for d'Arnaud. So, I don't know. That one hurts. His moves, he used all 12. Are you ready for this?
I can't believe it. Let's go.
He dropped Colin Ray and Kyle Gibson, added Connor Brogdon, 2/3 of an inning, a walk, a strikeout, 450 whip. He added Alex Wood, 4 2/3, a homer, a walk, 4 strikeouts, a 386, and a 107 whip. He traded Gunnar Henderson and Pablo Lopez to me for Alex Bregman and Yuri Perez. Pause. Talk about it.
Wow. Interesting trade for both teams. What I know I wanted to say is this is the only trade that he made that we'll be talking about. Or is there
No,
another one coming
there's
up?
another one. It's smaller, though.
And I think I should say what I want to say. Like,
When we're
after
done?
definitely, yeah.
That's fine.
for
Let
sure.
me go through the rest of the moves then, and we'll cover them
I
all.
think it's a good idea.
All right. He drops Alex Wood for Jalen Beeks, 2 innings, 2 strikeouts, and an 050 whip. He traded Ezekiel Duran for Travis d'Arnaud. He added Josh Fleming, 5 innings, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, and a 1 whip. He dropped Fleming and Brogdon for Keenan Middleton, an inning, a walk, a 1 whip, and a relief appearance. He added Chris Davinsky, an inning, a win, a bomb, an 18 ERA, a 2 whip, and a relief appearance. He dropped Trevor Story for Javi Baez, 0 for 4 with a strikeout because fuck Javi Baez. He dropped Chris Davinsky for G1 Bay, 1 for 4 with a strikeout. He dropped both of those guys, G1 Bay and Javi Baez, for Xavier Curry, who did not appear, and Joe Barlow, an inning, a strikeout, a 1 whip, and a relief appearance. That's it. That's all 12.
It's all 12 plus the trade. 2 trades.
Plus 2 trades. 14 moves this week. What's the matter?
Well, it's just that I'm seeing a pattern. Since Frank has joined this league, besides 2020, there's been something that's consistent. You know what that is?
Frank drafts a pitching staff and breaks it down piece by piece throughout the season.
That might be true. I was talking about more of who's been in the standings, where exactly they've been in the standings. This excludes 2020 unless you want to count a 6-week season. Mike Haber has been in the playoffs in all those seasons. I have been in the playoffs in all those seasons. And you have been in the playoffs in all those seasons.
Yep.
Frank has made a trade with at least 2 of us in all of those seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Can we say that that has, in some way, existentially, that has yielded himself to get higher than us in the standings, if that makes sense?
Has his trades with the 3 of us yielded any positive outcome? Any positive gain in the standings over those of which you're competing and trading with? The answer is no. You can word it as eloquently or as straightforward as you want, or we could just call a spade a spade. Frank's been trading his ass off for 4 seasons, and he just continues to fall.
Right. And in the same way, helping other teams get better and get closer to potentially winning the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I feel that at this point, maybe he shouldn't be trading with teams that he knows that he needs to get in front of. He hasn't been winning those trades more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying that he can't win this trade. I think he's just taking a risk again by trying to trade with someone that's consistently ahead of him. Someone that beat him in the finals. I mean, if you want to go that far with it, I mean, one might not have anything to do with the other in like the rivalry aspect of it, but
Right.
just the fact that he knows that you've been more successful to try to help a team get more successful when he already assumes you're going to be a good team. I'm not necessarily ever trading that way, but I also don't make a lot of trades, So if I'm
Right.
doing it, it's because I really want to move a piece and I really need that particular piece.
One thing I don't understand, and you brought this up, was that Frank was concerned for quite a long time about dropping Gunnar Henderson outright because the fear he had, and I don't know if he said this to you or if he said it to me and I told you, or if like it was just sort of a known thing among the three of us. His fear was that I was going to pick him up and Gunnar Henderson was going to do well on my team and it was going to upset him. So he traded him to me. Essentially, this trade is
the in his defense, he gets something back that he has interest in. In this case, it was the Miami prospect.
Yeah, Yuri Perez, the 6'8" Sandy clone or whatever.
It's just a guy that you probably would have ended up dropping at a certain point anyway.
Unless he's amazing. And if he's amazing, then so be it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he could be the rookie of the year. He could also be back in Jacksonville in a month. We don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. Look, I know that you'll find a way to plug Gunnar Henderson in there and make him.
He got a homer today.
Yeah. You'll make him useful, but Frank was not going to be able to because I guess he at some point was thinking, I don't know when I'm supposed to play this guy. Am I going to bench him today? And then he'd hit the home run on his bench. Things like that might happen. But he didn't want to drop him. And he decided, even though he was afraid of you getting that player, when there was a much better chance that anyone else would get him in free agency, he traded him right to you. I mean, the thing is that Henderson could have gone in another deal. He could have it could have been a 1-for-1 deal with moving Pablo Lopez.
It so could have easily been Pablo for Bregman. Like it's the deal that made sense. And Frank was kind of adamant about me taking out his garbage. And I'm all right, I'll take care of Gunnar Henderson for you. What do you need?
All he did was boost you up a little, I think. But
and listen, there are deals that have happened with Frank in the past where people have taken out Frank's garbage for him in order to make the deal work.
Yes.
Or Frank has taken out the trash of someone else's bullpen, right? Like Colin Holderman still sits on this team, even in that trade that we were like, why did he get Colin Holderman?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
but you know what, I do respect that at some point, Frank, he knows when to cut his losses. He's at some point he'll cut the bait and just say, I don't need this. And he'll just go forward. And sometimes that's paid off. And by the last few weeks last year, he had a group that he was sticking with the whole time. So just like we talked about with Adam, he's finding his identity still.
Oh yeah.
And we'll get into his MVP shortly, but I'll just say that again, I'm fearing the pattern. And I thought because he hadn't used 12 ads yet, and now we just finished talking about it, this was it. Like, this was him using the 12 ads. It's like now you're on that roller coaster ride with Frank Bucco.
Here we go.
Let's see what happens. Like 4 trades used, 2 to go, right? So now we're on it with them, and it's definitely gonna be a fun ride. But we wonder, is it just gonna be chaotic the entire time?
The other thing I do want to point out before we move on here is that he definitely did at this point win that Quan trade because of the injury to Alvarado.
Right. So yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
like,
and it's
before we go thinking that Frank is trading off all these pieces and losing every single deal, that's not true. Like, Frank wins a lot of these deals, actually, when we look back at the end of the year. The thing is, the ones he loses are catastrophic.
yeah. It's still early in that deal, though. Also, with all
Yeah,
these deals, like
yeah.
we can't say who's won or lost a deal, except if we're going to talk about on paper. And even though Alvarado did get hurt this week, he did get a save. And if I
Right.
look at Frank's team this week, he lost by one of those. So if he did have Kimbrel, then maybe he ties that category instead of losing it. So
Mhm.
whereas Adam, he managed to win that category anyway because he had Kimbrel. So you can look at it both ways. I have a hard time saying if Frank has won or lost any of these deals yet. I think he's just taken risks.
Mhm.
And it's just, we're going to see at least in the next 6 weeks if it paid off.
No doubt. His MVP this week is the one guy that was the MVP last year, Paul Goldschmidt. He hit 143 this past week, but realistically, he was still the best player on the team. 438 on base, 7 runs, a double, 2 RBIs, 2 steals, 11 walks, 8 strikeouts, and an error. Frank hit 193 this week, so the guy who won him the walks category almost single-handedly and had more runs scored than anybody else, that's the guy. The least valuable hitter is William Contreras. He went 118 with a 118, a double, 5 strikeouts, and an error, except for when Frank benched him on Sunday with the bomb. So difficult week to be William Contreras and Frank in that weird relationship right now.
Yeah.
The Cy Young, hey, look, here's Chris Sale, 7 innings, a win, 2 bombs, a walk, 8 strikeouts, a 257, and an 057. The Cy Young is no longer on his team because it was Pablo Lopez, 4 2/3, a 964, a 107. It was 3 bombs and 4 strikeouts. I believe that one was at the Dodgers, so that was not great. The start at the Angels was pretty good though. For Mike Sherman on his bench this week, Benjamin, it is 5 for 27.
184.
It's 185. It's 185. I got really excited. 5 runs, a double, 3 RBIs, 2 steals, 2 walks, 14 strikeouts, and an error. The error and the strikeouts, obviously great to keep out of the lineup when you tie both of those. No homers to speak of. So none of this really plays unless you want to try to get 5 runs in perfectly. Nope. Didn't happen. Only a few moves this week. He added Matt McLain, who is the first of the big Reds prospects to be coming up. There are 3 of them. He's the first one. He went 1 for 4, 2 runs, a double, a walk, and a strikeout. He also dropped Zach Greinke for David Peterson, 5 innings, a loss, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, a 1080, and a 220. He dropped David Peterson and added Royce Lewis, who is a prospect for the Twins organization, and then dropped John Schreiber. That's it. The MVP this week. Oh, let's talk about Cal Raleigh. 400 average, 500 on base, 5 runs, a double, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter, it might have to be Bobby Witt this week. A 174 and a 240 with 7 strikeouts and error, a steal, an RBI, 3 runs, and only 2 walks. The Cy Young this week is going to be Kodai Senga, 6 innings, nothing in the decision portion, but 3 walks, 12 strikeouts, a 150, and a 1. And the Cy Young, I guess, has to go to David Peterson, whom we talked about earlier. Benjamin, how's Mike Sherman doing these days?
Well, obviously, he was in trouble going into Sunday with the run that he was going on for the first few days. I mean, he had a substantial lead on Frank.
I actually had this. On Wednesday, the score was 12-6. And I know Tuesday going into Wednesday is not a big deal. We don't really look at it, especially when it's something like that. You're just Still trying to get as many as you
Stats
can.
are close, and we're all collecting stats.
Right. Wednesday's important, though, because it is the swing day of the week. And Frank that day went 12 for 37. That's a 320, 390 on base, 10 runs, 3 doubles, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, a steal, 4 walks, 12 strikeouts, threw 12 and 2/3 with a 2.84 ERA, 3 relief appearances. He had a good day. And it went from 12-6 to 16-3. Why? Because Mike Sherman went 8 for 31, which is only a 258 and a 361, though, with 9 runs, 2 doubles, a triple, 3 bombs, 4 RBIs, 2 steals, 5 walks, 6 strikeouts, through 2 whole baseball games, 3 wins, 9 walks, 24 strikeouts, a 2 ERA, a 133 whip, and 4 relief appearances. Everything that Frank did well, Mike Sherman did just 1 more. Homers, innings pitched, strikeouts, he doubled them. ERA was better. Whip was slightly better. Relief appearances, he had 1 more. And he crushed them. What happened?
Well, firstly, I think Frank should be counting his blessings here. Just the fact that the trade with Chris Sale now, for me, you shake that guy's hand and say, thank you very much. Without your contribution, I don't win. Like, there's no way. And then innings pitched. I mean, This was a very, very important week for Frank. And the fact that he doesn't win, you look at it and you're, okay, it's a loss. It's more the fact that he finally started to get it together by Saturday, and then all of a sudden took a dump trucking on Sunday. And that's unfortunate on how many stats actually switched. So I give him credit. There was those couple of stats that he needed that he was very close in, and the good days that he had, he was able to snag a couple close ones. But in general, most of the close ones went to Mike Sherman here. And Frank to me, he's still in fine shape, but this isn't a great situation for him if he takes another loss, because now it's a little losing streak. And you worry if another one of these happens, then the timing might not be so good. So he's got to get it together soon. But I guess this could have been 12-6. I look at that, and the fact that he went and got that guy that ended up being his horse this week, that was at least a good sign. And for Sherman, just been basically hovering around that 500 spot. Get a win, get a loss, get a win, get a loss. Don't know what to expect from Sherman here, but the 22 relief appearances was impressive. He really grinded out this win, and he stood toe-to-toe with a manager that made 12 ads and is eyeballing the thing nearly 24/7. So I give Mike a ton of credit here. This was a very good win for him. Frank, of course, I am concerned that now all of a sudden the panic button has been pushed, and we're on this roller coaster as we talked about. But if not for nothing, this could have been a whole lot worse.
It really could have been. It was a bad week on the scoreboard for much of the week. To walk away at a -4 and down 11-7, you count your blessings at that point. You kind of made chicken salad out of a lot of chicken shit. And it's just bad luck for me when it comes to this particular week. And Frank sort of searched through the mire and found the pieces that he could get.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Okay. No. Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry. Please.
The issue that I see, and you talked about, the trades and everything. I'm gonna bring up a curse. See, when Frank first came to this league, the first thing he did was draft, and the first draft he drafted an injured SP2. It was either Kyle Freeland or Mike Fultonavich, one of those two guys. With that selection going forward, he has created a curse of the SP2. And we thought it was broken last year when he took Yu Darvish and kept Yu Darvish all year as his SB2, and it worked out.
And Cease, right?
Right, Cease was the one. And here's Yu Darvish as his 2. Corbin Burns was the one. It was Corbin Burns and Yu Darvish. Both of those guys stayed on the team all season. The issue here is that we're back to we're not going to create this around a good pitching staff. If I go back and look at 2020 was Sixto Sanchez. 2019 was Shohei Ohtani.
2021, I think, was Sixto.
Yeah, 21 was Sixto. 20 was Ohtani. 19 was Fultonevich and Freeland. Last year was
Freeland and me.
Right. And here we are with what was supposed to be Dylan Cease and Spencer Strider. Well, now Cease has been traded off. Well, you could make the argument that Pablo's the 2. Well, now Pablo's been traded off. So who's the 2? And why is this not just another season of that? We thought we had seen something. We thought we had seen progression here.
Yeah, I don't know if we're calling Jordan Montgomery a 2, although he's been fine.
Fine. That's a 3. Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough because a pitching staff is important in this league, and he had it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he had enough punch in the lineup, but he felt like he needed a catcher. He needs these things when I don't know. I spoke to him on the phone about it. I mean, all I'm doing is repeating myself, but I don't believe that he needed things the way he thinks that he needed them. Not this early, and not when you're able to, basically hit par, most of the time. If you're hitting bogeys, okay, like that'll happen. All that matters is that at some point you're going to go on a big run. And I think he had the pieces to do it. I wanted to ask you, because you're in close contact with him a lot of times, and I wasn't around Sunday, but you were. I'm sure you were. I'm guessing, I don't know, if you were having a conversation with him on the phone while this Sunday is taking place, with all these stats all of a sudden going in another direction. I want to know what was going through his mind. Like, what was he saying? What were you guys discussing?
I actually don't think I was speaking to him very much on Sunday specifically.
Okay.
Yeah. You got to remember he has his kids on some weekends, so this just happened to be one of those weekends, and I was just watching my games here at Biggs HQ. But if you guys ever want to hit me up on a Sunday, definitely do it, because I'm just hanging out here. Benji, you know what I was doing on Sunday? I was watching my matchup with Christian. That's what I was doing. Let's take a look at that one, because I had a nice week. On Sunday, sir, first of all, 13-7 win. I am humbly apologizing to Christian because I dumped 2 trades right in the middle of his week, one on Monday and one on Tuesday. Like that's rough to drop on somebody. So I humbly apologize. I'm happy to get out of here with a +6. In reality, it probably should have been a bit bigger, but that's okay. Yeah. I'll walk away with this. On Sunday, the only thing that changed, we were tied in runs, and that's it. Everything else remained as it was. I won close categories. I won by 1 double and 1 triple, 2 losses and 2 saves. Christian wins by the 2 runs, 2 stolen bases, 2 wins, and 2 walks by a pitcher. We tied in home runs. All right. I have not looked at this number yet, Benjamin. Oh, nice. Benny, it's a 5 for 30.
A 1 for 6?
Yes.
Is it 185?
Nope. It's 167. It's 1-6 repeating. 6 forever. Yep. 2 runs, a homer, an RBI, and 13 strikeouts. The 2 runs would have tied the category, and the homers would have won the category. That was all on Sunday when I benched all my guys. So I wasn't trying to get that. Though I do have something here. Question. You had only struck out twice the whole day. Why bench every offensive player after that when you were so close in runs and homers? You had batting average and on base percentage locked up at that point. Well, you just nailed it. Like, I didn't want to lose strikeouts.
There's
And
also the fact that doubles were close, by the way, that they
yeah,
didn't mention. You took the risk of losing that as well.
I took a lot of risk, but what I wanted to ensure myself was that I was going to get strikeouts. I knew errors, strikeouts, average on base percentage, and I think I did the math that, like, if he took homers, doubles, it was gonna still end up being like 12-8. So I had done the math, and it was okay. I'm gonna
You
brush.
were satisfied with a 12-8 at
Yeah,
that point, so that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah, and that's the thing. Right now I'm in a decent spot where I'm just hovering right around 500 too, waiting for my team to get really hot
Yeah.
and healthy. So
Yeah.
I used all 12. 3 hitters: Brandon Belt, Josh Naylor, and I added Jordan Walker back. 1 starting pitcher and Tyler Anderson to help me get to the minimum. And 8 relievers: Daniel Bard, Luis Garcia, Victor Gonzalez, Garrett Crochet, Brent Suter, Brent Honeywell, Bard again, and Joe Jimenez.
And a trade or 2.
And 2 trades. Here they come. Obviously, we just talked about the one with Alex Bregman and Yuri Perez to Frank for Gunnar Henderson and Pablo Lopez. The other one to James McCloskey, I send Corey Seager, Anthony Santander, and Seth Lugo. And received Chris Bassett and Randy Arozarena. Ben Nisman, your thoughts on that one?
It's a very fascinating trade that on paper at that moment, you see how it can help both teams, how it fills a need for both teams. And I mean, Lugo going down, obviously, it already puts it in your favor, but who knows? An injury, God forbid, falls on your side now, or just one of those guys like Arozarena doesn't perform in the second half. Who knows? It's hard to say, but like I said at the time, I just thought, wow, this is really, really interesting. Both of you are taking risks, and he obviously took one. I thought you were taking one with Bassett. He was certainly not doing this on the Mets. And he started off kind of cold before he's been on this recent very good run. So, yeah, I guess time will tell.
No doubt. The goal here was to upgrade the pitching. I did it in 2 parts, obviously in 2 trades on back-to-back days. I told you that at some point I was shopping Sandy in the hope that I would get 2 starters of this caliber. This is exactly what I was looking for. Gunnar all of a sudden becomes a backup third short option. Arozarena was the piece. And I knew I had to shoot big. I knew I had to find a way to make it make sense, because you guys know why I want Arozarena on the team. Why these pieces? Well, James owns Adolis Garcia and getting the middle of the Rangers order. He owns Ryan Mountcastle. He will have the middle of the Orioles lineup. And I believe he has one more middle of the order that Mike Haber hit on in part 1. I just don't recall who it is off the top of my head. Let's move on over to Christian's team this week. And Christian went 8 for 25, Benjamin.
$324.
That's it. 320. He got it. He hit it again. It's another week in a row. Yay. 4 runs, a double, a homer, 6 RBIs, a steal, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. The double would have tied the category, and the homer would have won it for him. It's Kirilloff on the bench on Sunday with Wade not starting at first base on Sunday, and that's the bomb. The double comes from Harold Ramirez on the bench and Jose Abreu 0 for 3 at the utility spot. I don't know that you're actually doing that swap. His moves this week. He had 4 ads, a starting pitcher named Luis Ortiz, and 3 hitters, Mark Canha, CJ Abrams, and Francisco Alvarez. Key players this week. We'll start with my team. It's Mookie Betts. 240 average, 345 on base, 6 runs, 2 doubles, a triple, a homer, 4 RBIs, 4 walks, and 5 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter is no longer on the team. His name was Chris Taylor. 143 with a 143, a run, a double, an RBI, a steal, 3 strikeouts, and an error. The Cy Young is Chris Bassett. The 7 scoreless is beautiful. Where the hell is he? There he is. 7 innings, a walk, 7 strikeouts, nothing earned, and an 0.57. And the Cy Young was Eduardo Rodriguez this week. 5 innings, a loss, a homer, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, a 720, and a 160. It was still a really nice week for me. For Christian, his MVP is Tommy Edman. Geez, do you really want Tommy Edman? Oh, yeah, you do. 632 on base and average. 8 runs, 3 doubles, a homer, 3 RBIs, 3 steals, and only 1 strikeout. I immediately eat my words for that. The least valuable hitter is Brandon Marsh. He went 1 for 16 this week. That is an 0.63 with a 211 on base, a run, a steal, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, and an error. The Cy Young this week is Logan Gilbert. How nice. 6 innings, a win, a bomb, a walk, 9 strikeouts, a 3 ERA, and an 0.83 whip. And the Cy Young is a whole bunch of dudes. Guess we could talk about Tommy Henry or Luis Ortiz or Tanner Houck. Any one of those 3 guys. Benji, it's my matchup. What'd you say?
I saw you basically in control the whole time and take what I thought was a not aggressive approach towards the end, which I thought was fine. You know, you didn't think it was necessary to push the button and try to go for everything, and then potentially it all blows up in your face. Like you said, all you got to do is just hover around 500 and wait for the time. And I think you are going to pounce at that right time. If not, you know, maybe this is how many have you won in a row now? 3?
Oh, matchups? Yeah, it's 3 in a row now.
Yeah. So you're on your own little winning streak now. More concerned about it.
I won last week against Christian. Week before, didn't Bobby get me?
Oh yeah, Bobby did beat you.
Yeah, I beat.
You beat Jason.
I beat Jason 10-9, but Bobby got me real good.
Right.
So it's 2 out of 3.
So, all right. This might be a start for a winning streak for you, though, because you're out of that tough group with Mike Haber and Jason and Bobby, and now you got Costas, and so and then I think you got Frank next. But this is obviously something that I'm actually looking at more of being like, oh, is Christian now? This is where we're going to see him in the standings for the rest of the season. You know, he hasn't really changed the team all that much. He's got some guys that I definitely think have some question marks on them. I'm okay with the pitching staff. I don't know what Wheeler is going to be this year, but you know, I expressed my concern about this pitching staff going into the season, but I think it actually is fine. It's really more about the offense, I think. Similar to Adams, it's like, I don't know. Is there not enough star power here right now to sustain a whole season?
Christian had himself a really nice first season in the league. This is one of those scenarios where it's much like when I was facing Matt Losi and I was going for the shutout and I was going to get as many as I could. I could have done that here, and I chose to play this one safely because I see everyone else around kind of going to the minimum. Whereas with Matt, rather, it was the week of blowouts, and I tried to get the biggest blowout possible. So there's something to playing to the matchup and then playing to the matchup of matchups. You know what I mean?
Right. And also, this is your week 22 matchup.
Mhm.
So if you need to go for it, you're going to know how many stats you really need the
Right.
next time you're playing this guy. So
Right.
it's
Right.
not really that important at this point.
Christian, I'd like to see you shake this up just a little bit, though. Like Ben said, I think there's some stagnant pieces here that could be moved, and get yourself right here, because I don't think that this is a bad team. I just think it's in need of a bit of a dusting, shall we say. Benji, we'll move to the new segment here. Every time there is a new season high record at this point, I'm going to point it out. Because I do that every week, and I make sure that we know what the record for the season is. The record for on base percentage was tied this week. Myself and Mike Haber each have 402 on the season for a 7-day matchup. Mike Sherman set the record with 9 wins this year. Brian Lebo only had 1 homer. That's the fewest and the lowest on base percentage at 259 this week. James McCloskey had the lowest innings pitched, obviously, with 38 2/3. Frank gave up 20 homers by a pitcher. That's the most this season. Costas gave up 36 walks by a pitcher, most this season. And Jason had the fewest relief appearances at 6.
Nice.
Well done. Question of the week for you, Benjamin. You've now faced 7 managers, and you will repeat these 7 managers over again. Which one are you most afraid of spoiling your season at the end of the year? Which one of these 7 guys that you just faced are you afraid of? And I'll go first. Mine's Bobby Russo. Period. Full stop.
You know, I gotta say the answer is Mike Haber. Just because it's week 21, it's not necessarily week 22 where maybe he has everything taken care of and he can set up. So if he's going to be in one of those top spots that I could assume, but if it's a week 21 matchup, then he might still be playing for second place, first place, a playoff spot, seeding, whatever it is. So he's the hottest manager right now. So yeah, it seems like kind of an obvious answer, but that's the guy that I would.
Yeah. Bobby falls in my week 21. So I'm a bit scared of that. All right, Benjamin, it's that time of week once again. We get to do managers of the week. I know how difficult this is for you each and every week. I've got a theme to mine this week for you. So let's kick this thing off. Who you got at 3?
Gonna go with Josh Haber here. Had to deal with Aaron Judge all week, and the fact that his closers didn't really provide the production that he would expect normally, and he ends up losing that stat, but dealing with it the way he could and at least sneaking away with a 12-8 win, that was important. So he wins the matchup he needs to. He's still very high in the standings. He's having an incredible season so far, so that's why I give him.
Credit to Josh Haber. He's not going to make my top 3, A, because he doesn't fit the theme, but also B, because, facing Ari is one of those things that it is a strategy that you know what you're getting every single week. You are not going to get any curveballs thrown at you. So
unfortunately, that is part of the reason why he's 3 and not higher, but
right.
Even still, I mean, he was in control of that matchup mostly.
I want to give credit where it's due to a guy who beat a very hungry manager this week. He beat a guy who went to the finals and has not made the playoffs since, but really, really badly wants it and is in playoff contention right now. How about Henry Collins getting a 13-8 victory, getting himself 1 game over 500? Good job, bro. Who is your number 2, Benjamin?
Well, it's Bobby Russo in this case. You know, he's had some frustrating endings with Sundays specifically, his closers blowing it, him choosing to start a starting pitcher or two that blows up in his face while he's trying to go for innings. Obviously, a lot of stats just flip the other way on Sunday again on him when he faces Adam Lowenstein. But he had control of the matchup. I mean, basically the whole way. Was he ever losing to Adam? I don't think so.
Only after Monday.
Okay, no, then no. I mean, he held him in check the entire time. So, I realized that Adam's a rookie manager, but he made the most ads that he had all season. He was obviously playing hard against them. And Bobby, again, there was some things that happened on Sunday, to him, and it flipped the other way. It's unfortunate, but it's still.
All right. I'll talk about Bobby at some point here. Benji, you're my number 2 this week. I think you got an unbelievably great win here this week over Jason. And what a hard fought matchup between the two of you guys. Every single time we see you, it's just slugfest after slugfest. But a 13-7, strong win. It does dump him down the standings a bit here. And I know he's just a little bit concerned that he was up top, and now the last couple of weeks he took an L from me, and then now this L from you, and he keeps falling. But you're inside the top 4, sir. Congratulations, you're my number 2.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you. Who is number 1 for you, sir?
You had him on your list. I do as mine. Number 1, it's Henry Collins, actually. There was a moment where Costas picked up a pitcher at 4 a.m. on Saturday, so that he was still grinding it out. And this is obviously, a very, very tough manager to play day to day. And I think that Henry really, really played well. I really do. I thought that he made some very interesting lineup decisions day to day. But I've said this in the past. I think the fact that he put Profar and Diaz as his mainstay guys, it's made a lot of his decisions easier because at least he knows who to plug in those 2 spots.
He had a really, really great week, Henry did. And it shouldn't be understated that a rookie manager coming in, getting somebody that hungry on their schedule at this point and getting that win is huge momentum boost and a huge confidence builder for somebody like Henry. And I'm really proud of him for getting that win over Costas. Good job, Henry. My number 1 is going to be Bobby Russo. And Bobby Russo has deserved to be on this list for a couple of weeks now. Every single week, once the show airs and he's read it or he's listened to it, he texts me and lets me know. He said that last week he got disqualified because his closers blew up. And so we were having some fun banter about what was happening this week. The fact of the matter is a W's W, and you got to hammer weak teams. And that's what Bobby continues to do. Bobby has 1 loss on the season so far. There's only one other team that only has 1 loss this year. Can you name it? Yeah, you can. It's Mike Haber. So this is a team on par with Mike Haber's team. This is a guy who's managing on par with Mike Haber right now. Yeah. He deserves the number 1 spot. Good job, Bob.
Yeah. And, the fact that he's been frustrated with these couple of stats that he's lost on the last day, that just goes to show that he could have been kiboshing a lot of teams. He's been putting himself in a position to crush a team. And even if that doesn't happen, he's still going to get the W. So, yeah, I mean, I made him my number 2, but he could have very well been number 1 because
absolutely,
he's actually playing the game differently than he's had in previous seasons, and he's finding himself as far as who the mainstay guys, and I'm sure he does feel like he does have some flaws, some holes to fill. In a couple of weeks, we're really gonna be seeing if this team is one of those teams that's just okay. We can confidently say that this guy is all year just gonna just be annoying to play against for everyone, literally everyone. And I think there is something to be said that the school year for him when it gets out, that he gets a little bit more time for himself. So if he's been,
We've got
I was
two
gonna say, if
school
he's been
teachers at the
grinding it
top.
out this
Yeah.
long, you know, with having to deal with that, think about how much freedom he'll have to, you know, play with this lineup and whatnot.
That's exactly what it is. We've got two school teachers at the top of this standings, and school's still in session. When school's out, they're gonna what? Pay
Three
more
if you
attention
count
to it.
Costas.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, these guys are only gonna get better. We're only gonna get better. The league is only gonna get better, Benjamin. And it is all because of you, man. Thank you so much for being here with me, my friend.
It's a pleasure, man. At any time, I love doing it. I love talking about this league. I was saying to you a couple of days ago when you were on the phone with Frank, and I was about to go and do my own thing. I was like, you know, I think it's funny, but it's really humbling that two people are having a conversation about something that I decided to just put together many years ago. And it has, you know, I'm not in the conversation, you know, I'm doing my own thing, but it's nice that that exists, that I'm finding out that certain people are going to be meeting each other. Like Josh Haber, for instance, going out to Colorado, you know, two guys, two Hofstra alum that are going to be seeing each other. So, you know, that's something that the league has done. So it's great that we're finding ways to actually get together now that we finally can. And it's always a pleasure, man. If we can't see each other, we get to talk about it every week. And that's still more than enough for me. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you guys all for being here. And until next time, guys, there's no easier way to do this. It's been real, it's been fun, and it is always real fun in the bigs. We'll see you guys next week.